Okay, so now the clouds. I'm going to draw in the clouds a little bit, and I'm not going to let it be touching the top of that like it is. And then I think I have to make this a little higher because I'd like it to go behind there. So this is sort of that lowest level of clouds, and then this is the dark, kind of comes down here. And then there's sort of another layer up here. So just kind of really simplifying it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick up, like I say, I don't really think about this very much. I just sort of grab things and see how that goes. So I'm going to pick up something kind of a light blue, and I'm just going to put in this light that's nearest the horizon. And remember, I drew that wrong on purpose. Yeah, so, and then I could do that up here too. Oops, right here where that other part is lighter. And then in here, there's this lightness. And see, I should have resized my paper. I thought I was doing you a favor by making it so big, but it's not the right proportions. But anyway. And then I think what I'm gonna, like, I feel like there's a little bit of some sort of warm color in there. And you might remember from the clouds 2 weeks ago that I didn't use the white right away. I just kept adding the colors I wanted to add, and reserving my brightest colors for the sort of last thing I'm going to do. So I have sort of a yellow ochre. It wasn't, I'm not sure it's a brilliant choice, but I picked it up, and there we go. And now I'm just going to try a pink. So the way I do this is I look at it and I try something, and then I say, okay, that is too much or not enough. And then I just go back and I add something new or more of the same thing. Okay, I hate this, just saying. Okay, let's see what else I can do to the sky to wreck it. All right, let me try this. Okay, so maybe this wasn't the best idea, but it was an idea. I like that better. It's just like what Barb was saying about her photograph, working from a photograph on the computer and working from one that's actually printed on a piece of paper. It looks nothing like how I edited it to look after it was printed. And the other thing I'm not thinking about right now is I'm not worrying about my strokes. I'm just, because I just can't focus on two things at once at this moment. The color is so hard for me at the moment that I'm just putting all my strokes in just the same. And I kind of didn't worry about the fact that my drawing got really repetitive in there. So these are the things I'm trying not to worry about. Okay, so I do think I have to have it be a little bit lighter. I guess I had this idea, that if I started it all with a shadow color, it would have more, it would kind of hang together better. That was my idea. And the other thing you can see right here, it's as if this cloud is on top, but it can't be because it's behind. So you need to keep thinking about that too while you're working on stuff, is that the clouds, the higher up clouds are in front. They're on top. Maybe is a better way to put it. So you just have to be sure that you get your layers kind of straight. I still need to lighten that up some. And the reason I need to is that I just not going to be able to tell what's going on with my land unless I get them a little lighter, at least along the horizon. And I think I mentioned before, when you're doing landscape, you kind of have to work on the sky. You have to get it really under control before you move on, because it changes so much. And so now I've got my sky, and I'm just going to move straight down the painting and do the thing that's right next to the sky. Oh, you know what you could do actually though, is you could put in the water. It's often a good idea to do the water and the sky at the same time. I would like to have my hand go horizontally, but for some reason it's extremely hard in this position. Okay, so water. One thing about water, and maybe I should have started with the purple first instead of the pink, but water, what you want to do is start, somebody described it like you're starting, oh, I'm in the way. You're starting from the very bottom of the pond and working your way to the top. So you start with the darkest colors you're going to have and then work up to your lighter colors. So this is clearly too dark, but I'm just leaving it for now. And then I'm going to put in these first two layers of mountains, and they are really, I think they're really blue. So what I do is if I think something's pink, like here, I just go way over the deep end. And then if I think it's got purple in it, then I just like make it as extreme as I can, because that way, in a weird way, it's easier for me to see what's wrong, because I've made it so extreme that like it's clearly not that color. So maybe I could figure out what to do next. And then I'm just going to try this for these guys back here. And you can see I'm just putting one color in each of these mountain areas because I don't know what's going on yet. Like maybe that's too warm, but I don't know until I get down here. Maybe I really needed this color for here. Who knows? I don't know if you know that guy Wolf Kahn, but he really liked to paint. Oh, did I do something terrible? I kind of did. What happened? I like wiped out the whole world over here. But here's the good news. You can always redraw. I don't even know. Did I just draw it so wrong? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so these trees up here that I just about left out, I'm just going to start them with this dark blue. And one thing about trees is that it's very helpful just to go ahead and start them really dark. And the same thing, like as the trees come towards you, like you want to, if you start dark, you get that dark underneath color. And then as the trees, the limbs and stuff are sticking out at you, they get lighter. So you get a sense of depth in your trees, which is really hard to get if you start with the lightest color. That was like a huge revelation I had one day. It was a very exciting day for me, because I'd be out there and I'd try to do sort of the whole surface area of the trees. And then they looked flat. And somehow I all of a sudden realized that, oh, trees aren't flat. They, I know it's ridiculous, right? But they're not flat. They have a huge amount of dimension. Kind of, I guess, like the sky too, that I realized that no, the sky's not just flat. It's not a flat background. It's going away from me. Yeah.
Would you mind? I was so busy using my pastels that I didn't hear everything you said about your incredible revelation about the trees.
Oh, yeah.
So would you mind repeating that?
Not a bit. I love to repeat my incredible revelations. It was that the trees are not flat, that you've got like when you're a kid and you draw trees, you know, they're like da 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 da. And they're very, I don't know if you can see that, but they're super flat. But trees, in fact, you know, stick out a long way between where the trunk is and the closest branches to you. So yeah, so I discovered that if I started my trees really dark, and then made the lights come out, it would give that sense of a dimensional thing to the trees. So when I try to start with sort of the surface quality of the light on the trees, and then they would just be this flat thing that I couldn't make better, partly because of that light over dark problem, that it's easier to get light over dark. Right, yeah. So when I started too light, it was hard for me to get my darks in there. I don't know. Did I do it? Is that good? Yeah. Anyway, if you start your trees dark, it's a lot easier to get dimension. I don't know why I did that. I just wanted to see. Okay, so I think the next row is pretty green. Hey, if any of you guys, if you don't follow Karen Winslow, who's an artist I knew from New York, and she lives in Jericho, but she's been doing these demonstrations on Instagram, which now I think I need to figure out how she's doing it. She's doing time lapse demonstrations. So like her hour-and-a-half painting goes by in like 30 seconds or something. What are you? Nope, you're that. Also, one thing that is annoying to me, which I wish I only had one piece of each color in my paint box, but because I just keep, I keep picking up the same piece. But what happens is that, I don't know, like I have just one piece and then I break it in half and then I have two pieces and then I can't find them. And so then I add another piece. It's tragic. Okay, so there's the lay-in. Now the thing is, it's already 4 o'clock. So do you want, are you planning, I'm gonna keep painting till like when, or what do you want me to do? I mean, how many people are painting with me, right? So, except for a few people who are not.
You talked about doing a demo for an hour
Okay,
last time.
thank you. All right, so I got 30 minutes. Okay, so now is a moment when you could consider spraying it. Especially, I use so many colors everywhere, so I'm not going to because I don't really want to try to disconnect myself from everything. But if I have to, I'll just have to. Okay, so almost always what I do is, well, let's see, what could I do? What the heck? What should I do next? No. A lot of times I say, okay, like I've worked on the sky the very most so far. I want to work on the sky more so bad, but I think it makes more sense to work on all the land and the water and get them more developed. So that but I do think I have to lighten the sky up some. And I am just going to grab a little piece of white here and lighten it up on the horizon. Because if I don't, all my colors are going to be too dark. So another good thing to remember if you're painting, when you're really painting outside, it's easy to get your paintings too dark. Or if you're painting inside and you have too much light on your canvas, you can end up painting too dark because then the paintings are going to hang somewhere that doesn't have nowhere you hang them in your house is going to have as much light as outdoors. And yeah, so nothing will have as much light as outdoors. You put them under glass, they look darker. So, and if you're sitting here with, a 600-watt bulb shining right on your paper, there's a really good chance you'll paint too dark. For other areas, it's a relative thing. So look, I can't resist it. I have to work on the sky some more. I just have to get it lighter, that's all. So the thing I wanted to tell you to remember is that anytime you're painting, when you bring it in and you say, oh, it's too dark, like a really great, or you move it somewhere else and look at it and it's too dark. The great thing to do is go back to the sky and lighten up the sky, because the sky is the lightest thing. Almost always the sky is the lightest thing in your picture. So yeah, somebody's not muted because I'm getting little scratchy noises. The sky is almost always the lightest thing in your picture. And so by lightening it, you're able to lighten everything else in your picture. God, I know you've never heard this before, but I just don't seem to have the right color. Not to make like a rule or something, but I have really noticed that in the fall, it seems like the clouds have yellow ochre in them. Like maybe the light from the trees reflects up in there. And it's the only time of year I see it in the clouds, but anyway, so let's just say that's. Okay, so I'll just walk away from those clouds. Like, there's a real tendency, I know from my own personal life, is that if something's not going as well as you wish, you just want to stay there and work on it forever. But it's not always the best idea. So I thought I'd add a little purple to this orange. And I was trying to use something that was pretty much the same value, but it is a little darker. And I'm going to add it right in here too. And I'm going to add, I know this is going to come as a great shock. I'm going to add a little purple to this blue too. Ooh, I really hope I'm not sitting here with my mouth hanging open right next to this camera. I hope I'm staying back. Okay, so that made that better. For sure that goes back better. I'm not 100%. Yeah, I'm just gonna try the same exact color. Just see what happens because it's gonna look different. This is the same exact purple I used on the blue mountains. But see, it looks totally different when I use it on top of those other colors. But it's kind of making those mountains go back a little bit, I think. So I talked about how you can create distance with your composition by being sure that things overlap and get smaller as they go. Oh yeah, things overlap, and the way you compose it so that you have a sense of distance. And then with drawing, that you make sure your things overlap and that whatever's closest to you is lowest on the picture. And then when you get to color and value, the colors as they go further back tend to get a little more muted. Well, yeah, if that was such a good color, maybe I should put some in here. Yeah, so the colors tend to get more muted as they go further back. And then when you talk about values, is the values tend to get more averaged. So, you know, this mountain, if you were up close to it, it actually has trees on it just like this, but because it's so far away, you can't see that contrast. It's the contrast between the light and dark here that makes this stand out. And as things get further away, there's less and less contrast. So you can't really, you can't see the kind of detail that you can up close, because really detail, what you're really seeing, what you're translating into detail is contrast between little areas of light and dark. Okay, so pretty sure that green is too hot a green. Oh, it's so tempting just to put that purple on there, but no, I'll put some blue. Okay, so that I think that green is too warm for where it is in the picture. So I'm just going to make it a little bluer. And since I have all these, everything is covered and things aren't like, this is way wrong, but everything is covered and I have somewhere things to work against. So I can say, well, compared to what I'm going to do up here, that's too a yellowy green. This was too bright a color for where it is, and that was too dark maybe. So yeah, so I've got things to compare to and relate to. So I'm not just making things up, I'm really trying to compare them to each other. Also, if you guys don't follow Susan Abbott on Instagram, her work is so good. And she's been all these artists have been posting a lot of stuff lately. I don't know, except for me, because all I've been working on is the damn dog, which I'm going to show you a picture of in a little while. Okay, so now here, here I can start to see a little bit of light. Well, I actually can here too. So why don't I see what I can do with that? Yeah, I'm going to work here next. And what I'm going to do is I'm using, I think, that same green I used to have. I'm going to try to create a little sense of light and shadow back on these trees, because that's coming closer to me and I can actually see a little light and shadow. And this is not a sunny day. The only light there is coming from the sky. So it's top planes that are catching the light, not like side planes. It's top planes. It's so funny. I spent so long trying to decide what photograph to use, and yet I didn't pick a sunny one. Like, I always paint sunny pictures, but it's good not to always do the same thing. Okay, so now I'm just trying to find a purple that is sort of that same value as that green. And you can tell I'm a little hesitant. I'm putting it on a little hesitancy because I'm not sure it's right. So anytime you find yourself being a little scratchy or a little shy with what you're up to, then probably you're just worried that you're making a big mistake. Which is okay because a mistake just gives you more information. And one thing I'm sure I'm using so much violet, I didn't even think about it before because I don't really usually think about why I'm doing things. And I just see now with my new setup, I'm getting a ton of pastel in my pastel box. So this is a pretty good trick too. You just take a little piece of tape and attach it here and leave half of it sticking up, and then the pastel will fall and stick to the tape because I didn't think about what a mess I'm making. Okay, yes. So purple. So a famous artist named Frank Mason once said that purple is the control day on cloudy day because the sky is warmer than on a sunny day. So on a sunny day, your two colors are kind of yellow and blue, but on a gray day, the color that's kind of moving through everything is purple. So I just wanted to come back in here. And now I guess I'm kind of using a stroke that's trying to suggest something of the trees. I just have to come back again with a little of that green. And I don't want to spend too long here for sure, because I need to be sure, like this should really be lighter than that. So I need something lighter, but I also don't want to get so carried away back here that I can't make the next row stand out. But so like that's a little better because those lights look like they're in front of that color that's behind. And there's a little definition now. Oh my God, my drawing is so bad. I'm sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to see what I can do here. I always find it, well, actually I'm going to work here because that looks so bad. I have to do something about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add something darker back in. I don't know if I got the same thing I had here, but I just let it get away from me. And so I'm just going to wiggle in some dark shapes that are kind of going to start to hopefully suggest the tree line. The thing I really love about pastels is that you can just keep changing things for a long time. That's another reason I'm so impressed by Sue using those oil pastels. I don't think you can change stuff as much, and especially she only has 24 colors. Anyway, way to go, Sue. I know now I'm just trying to add a little lights on top. And then if I go too far with that, and maybe I need some of the blue, so it looks like there is some fir trees in there, I just come back and add some dark. So I'm kind of working back and forth between my darks and my lights. And if I wanted to show, that's not really dark enough. Oh, but my water is going to get a lot lighter. So I realized I didn't really do the edge of the, so the edges, this is a hard thing. Like this is an edge that's kind of going back, but you have to be really careful about exaggerating too much the angle of stuff that touches the water, because there's this whole thing about water seeking its own level. So sometimes when you see these little things going back, you might exaggerate it too much. So you want to be careful about that. I see it a lot. I mean, where people are doing like the edge of the lake or something, and they make kind of a curvy line. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that for now because I think I made it better. And now I'm gonna, yeah, right. There's actually these yellow trees here, so I need to get that stuff in. So I'm just using, I mean, I didn't grab my brightest yellow yet. And in fact, I didn't use any yellow over here, and maybe I should. Now, I always say I'm going to get out and paint in the fall, and then when school starts, I just never can. So I didn't even like sort of review my box. This is the box I used all summer. So this is the first fall painting I've done. I don't have any fall colors. Oh, I just can't get away from there. Okay, I'm out of there. All right, I don't know why I didn't notice those trees were right there. I don't know what. But no wonder I couldn't make them stand out in front of the other trees because they are more yellow. All right, and so then now I'm down here to this business. And here I can start to really see, I can see underneath things a little bit, even though I'm up above. This is up at Wrightsville from the dam. Yeah, so what are you? I just want to find something even darker. It's not really darker. I think I'm about at I think this is probably the bottom of the. Yeah, and you know, this really comes out further. So I hope that this is a lesson for you, is do a good drawing for God's sake. Don't start because you're, you know, in a hurry and all that. Yeah, I started too quick and there was stuff I should have done. I knew better. Okay, so I just wanted to get the little feeling of the land here. And I didn't want this one to line up with that one. And because that one wasn't perfectly drawn, then this one had to come out further. And, you know, it just goes on and on. Okay, so, and I've kind of lost a layer in here. So maybe it's, you guys are looking too much at the photograph I sent you. Maybe that's bad. I just want to make this all darker. And I just want to be sure that these come up in front. So I condensed all this. I think there's like, I don't know how many layers there are, but I kind of brought it together. And then I want down here, I want a feeling more that I've got land or something. So I'm just going to lighten it up. So on a gray day, the only real shadows are underneath stuff, like under the trees. And a way you can think about that on a gray day is the light falls on the trees where the snow would stick. So if you think about that, the branches that are coming out would catch snowfall. We had incredible amounts of that this year. Those snows stayed on the trees so long. And another thing is fir trees. The branches go up, they don't go down. Okay, so if you hadn't, like, that was another big revelation, Grace. I was painting out the window at U32, so it's not even all that long ago in the great history of Janine's art career. And I was painting all the trees like with the branches going down. And then I looked again, I was like, oh my God, the branches all go up. There is not one tree over there where the branches go down. And so it's really important not to let your memory or what you think. It's important to look and see what you see and not just paint what you think. Because what you think is maybe it's I sometimes wonder about stuff like from our childhood, like the things we drew a lot in our childhood, like Christmas trees or trees like this. I just wonder if that influences, like, are those the hardest things to draw now because we have some sort of idea about them? And that idea isn't true, but we've got the idea, so. Oh my gosh, I can't make a nice stroke. They're all too, I'll try this one. Oh, that's better. I'm so sad Winsor Newton went out of business. This is a Winsor Newton yellow. They are such good yellows. I mean, Winsor Newton didn't go out of business, but they quit making pastels. Okay, I just covered up every single dang fir tree I had there. So now I'm just gonna have to put them back in there. I can. So now I'm doing a lot more texture, and one way I'm creating texture is by using contrast, more contrast between the light and the dark. And And so now like this and this, I see I got to push that back a little more. I'm just going to try something kind of weird. It's sort of a turquoise. I just wanted to see what it would do. And maybe I just wouldn't have this warmer parts just right behind there, which I know that's not right yet. So anytime things start to get a little, I don't know, greasy is the first word that's kind of coming to my mind here, then you probably should spray it. Or, I mean, I know there's plenty of you that never spray anything, but okay, so now I've obviously got to do something about the water. And oh, look how dark that baby is. So your darkest darks and your lightest lights will probably be in the foreground. So that's just something to kind of think about. Okay, so the water. So the water is way too purple and way too pink. And let's face it, the water is gray, but that is unacceptable. So I'm going to use blue. And I'm going to just, I mean, I'm kind of firming up my drawing a little bit too here. And getting those, and I think there's some reflections maybe, and I'm going to come back for those in a second. And well, oh God, I just can't keep my hand in the right direction here. Also, another thing you can do is like I can use the water here if to cut into my forms here. And so you don't always have to come out with what you're painting. You can also cut in. And you can use the sky as a really good way to cut in if you have trees that are along the edge of the sky. All right, this is a straight up lie. I just want to say, I hate those fir trees. They're gone. Okay, so what can I do? I think I'm gonna put some more purple back here. It's just bugging me. I just don't think it stays back well enough right behind these other guys. But now, of course, it's too much like that. So it just like goes on and on, back and forth, this sort of balancing act. Yeah, maybe what I can do here, though, is make this a little stronger. And so see, I did this thing that I tell you guys, like I mentioned it a million times, where you make things that are too much the same shapes. But I think it is just part of, you can't think of everything at once. So, you know, it's not really, I have 4 minutes. It's not really, I got to work on the water. It's not really about, like by the time I see your work, you guys have done such a fabulous job that I can nitpick it. But the time in this painting for me to nitpick is not here yet. So I am keeping my water really horizontal because water, like I said before, I think seeks its own level. And so if you make your water have any kind of angle at all, it'll start to look like a waterfall. So you want to just be careful to, unless it's running water or a waterfall, you want to be kind of careful not to have any kind of angle. That is a real problem too when the water's coming into the beach. I always find that really awkward when the waves are at some sort of weird angle. And a lot of times I just choose to do something else besides paint there. So you can see like it's kind of cool with the darker colors underneath, that what I'm trying to do is give this impression that the water is a different kind of material than the trees. That, I mean, the trees also have that thing where, you know, birds can fly through them, but that the water doesn't look solid in the same way that the mountains do in the distance and all. And you know, I'm not exactly doing what I should be doing. You've got to make the water come forward too. So the strokes up here are going to be bigger. There's going to be more contrast. So if I wanted to have a little more darks, and there is this some sense of
Can you just move your head over slightly as you do that part? Thank you.
Thanks for telling me. I really would like my head never to be out there. Okay, so up here, I mean, maybe it's kind of a lie, but so what? I'm just going to add just a little more of these light. I'm just having so much trouble turning my hand that way. Just add a few little light sort of bits on the water up here. And I just wonder if I don't need to, and then there's people say you have to choose. You can't paint the surface of the water and also paint the reflections, but I don't know if that's true or not. But like I had the reflections I'm putting in kind of going up and down, but I think then what I would want to do is come back and put the ripples over it a little bit. I really didn't want to use white, but I really think I will. I mean, yeah, obviously it's not finished, but does anybody have any questions? Because I think I should stop and let you guys work, right? That's the plan. Okay, I'm getting ready to switch cameras here, so the snot out of it, as we say. And it's really stinky because I didn't wait very long. So, oh my God. So now would be a time you could redraw, especially if you were having a leisurely. The only thing that's just I can't stand is this mountain. So you can always take your charcoal and redraw if you want to. That was all. I just had to do that. All right, I am going to make the freaking sky better. If it kills me. I feel like it's going to. What are you? I'll try you. Oh, interesting. Kind of a warm purple thing. It kind of gives me that feeling I like of the yellow ochre in the sky without having to use yellow ochre in the sky. So whenever you spray your paintings, some of you know, some of you don't, it's right back to the pit. You just have to accept that you're going to have to cover everything again. It's just the way it goes. And yeah. So if you don't want that to happen, you don't want to have to cover everything all over again, then don't spray it so heavy. Sometimes I spot spray and sometimes I use my viewfinder to do that. So like I might have a little place that I needed sprayed. So I will make a little thingy, a little opening to do that. It's risky. Spot spraying is risky because it's really easy to get too much spray. And when you're done, you do not spray the heck out of it. In fact, I just don't usually spray mine anymore at the end because the fixative just seems like it's unreliable and I don't want it to make big dots all over my finished painting. So now I'm going to try to spend a little more or give a little more thought to which direction my strokes are going. And I'm just going to try to pay a little more attention now. And also I'm going to stick my tongue out because that helps me paint better. Every video I made for my students at the beginning of the school year, every single one, when I looked at it again, there I was sitting there with my tongue sticking out because they were pottery mostly. Okay. So I'm trying to get a sense of, like in the clouds, there's light, half light, shadow, and then the light starts strong again. So I'm trying to get a little sense of that. So I don't know. I guess this was such a bad idea the way I started my clouds, but at least I got something to blame it on. Okay, so right back here, this is a hard edge because it's the back of that cloud, and then there's another cloud behind it. So I don't maybe want my hardest edge back there, but at least I want to have a sense that that cloud hangs down in front of this opening. So actually, I'm kind of thinking that in fact there is blue in there a little bit more, not as much as I just put, but that I kind of like this idea that I would have a little blue along the horizon. And maybe just add a little yellow too. And then these clouds, so right in here is sort of is where the in between colors are that'll start to make those clouds look roundish. Although, I mean, I don't know. I mean, clouds are a little box-like also. They're not just like a ball or something. In that, like in all these clouds, well, I guess always, unless you're on Everest or something, you're seeing the underside of the cloud, not the top. So I'm seeing the underside and one side, the front facing side. But still, I would kind of like to feel like, and I just can't seem to do it, that I had some sort of sense that this was the softer edge. So it's like, sometimes I talked about it in fabric. You have the hard edges and you have the soft edges. What have you got? Golly. Okay, sorry, that was a cat. Yeah, so here's another place. This starts again with a hard edge where the light starts right under that top cloud.